This video has been sponsored by the lovely members of my Patreon. Love you.
There comes a time in every college student's intro to philosophy world where they have to decide if they are Team Hobbes or Team Rousseau. Thomas Hobbes was an English philosopher and best known for the 1651 book Leviathan, which argues for a social contract and a rule by an absolute sovereign. Hobbes believed that strong authoritarian figures were needed in order to keep man from going apeshit, essentially. To Hobbes, people were just gross, violent, and inherently fearful. Not the most flattering image of humanity, but having just survived the 2020 American presidential election, can't say that I don't get it. In comparison, Genevian philosopher Jean-Jacques Rousseau, as I like to call him, believed that mankind was naturally free, wise, and good when not corrupted by the heartless intentions of civilization, not the Kingdom Hearts characters. He also thought women would torment men if we were taught to read, and I mean, that's my goal every day. But yeah, these are the two possible states of mankind, according to two dead old white men. Inherently bad, needing to be molded and sculpted by the government and laws, or inherently good and needing to shelter their ingenue baby protagonist hearts from the rough city streets.
We gotta clean you up, child, and give you some on-the-job training.
And this is just the way that we view the average human being. Throw in a sprinkle of exceptionalism or superpowers, and you get narratives that have spent their entire premise on trying to prove one or the other in some way. Well, I'm going to dissect that issue with an anime and an R-rated superhero show, because that's just the kind of person that I am. During my quarantine, I've finally binge watched the popular shonen series, My Hero Academia, and have collected multiple figurines to prove my alliance, plus a t-shirt, a bath mat, and a throw pillow. And the Amazon series The Boys. Two very different shows, but both gave me a lot of really deep feelings about superheroes. Both are worlds where superheroes exist, and both of them deal with issues of morality, capitalism, and what it means to be a hero within those systems. But both deal with it in a very Hobbes versus Rousseau kind of way. Hence, this video. Plus, since at this time, like 90% of our media seems to be related to comics or some sort of IP about comics and attached to the military or some big corporation or government or something like that, it is oddly relevant to explore exactly how our superhero content reflects the most cynical and optimistic parts of our entertainment, especially when it comes to the heroes who we end up loving, hating, and are super popular. Originally a comic series from Garth Ennis and Derek Robinson, The Boys is an Amazon original series that follows a group of vigilantes called the Boys who are attempting to take down a group of powerful heroes known as the Seven, who are essentially egomaniacs, villains, murderers, rapists, and narcissists with really good publicity and an entire giant billion-dollar corporation around them promoting them and ensuring that they are loved in the public eye. There is Homelander, fascist Superman, Queen Maeve, cynical, disillusioned, bisexual Wonder Woman, A-Train, drugged up speedster Flash, The Deep, rapey Aquaman, translucent, sex offender, black noir, a murderer but cool, Stormfront, literal Nazi. It stars Carl Urban as Billy Butcher, the leader of the Boys, who single-handedly creates a new king for me every episode. He's like that hot. Every time he wears a sweater, I'm just kind of like, I am attracted to men still. Wow. The Boys is the kind of show that is so cynical that it's both brilliant at times with how dark it allows itself to go, but also sometimes the show and its creators tell on themselves for being those who only see superheroes through a lens of whiteness. One of the showrunners for the show said in an interview with The Hollywood Reporter,
"The myth of superheroes themselves, though often created by young Jewish writers in the 30s and 40s, don't really apply as cleanly today because there's these undeniable fascist underpinnings to it. They're there to protect white patriotic America. That's what they were designed to do. That's what they do. They're protecting the status quo. When the status quo is problematic, suddenly they become adversarial, not your hero." And I think it was written by a lot of people who at that time were trying their level best to fit in and vanish within white society. But we just don't live in that time anymore. So the myth of the superhero taken straight, that's where it starts to become fascist. Because they're protecting a world that doesn't and shouldn't exist. Superheroes are inherently MAGA. In terms of storefront, there was nothing specifically personal behind it. It was just, I hate Nazis, I hate alt-right white nationalism, I hate racism in all its forms.
While I personally do understand and get Cripe's ultimate point, I think what is frustrating about his overall thesis is that for many queer kids, people of color, and other BIPOC people with different marginalized, their superheroes are not MAGA. Unless you're trying to say that Storm, T'Challa, Loki, the X-Men are all MAGA, and I don't really think that tracks at all. There's also an issue in how we have both stripped away the Jewishness of these superheroes and tend to flatten them into Christian figures, and also that we take a lot of very complicated, morally righteous characters and just turn them into being robots who follow orders without any sort of questioning. And that's also not true to who these characters were and have been. Superman has combated the Klan and Nazis. When they tried to pull that Nazi Captain America shit, people were fucking pissed. Rightfully so, considering Jack Kirby and his relationship to Nazis, because that character was literally created to kick the ass of Nazis. One of my biggest pet peeves is when people think that Superman, a hero who exists on this planet because of the complete destruction of his people, would instantly turn into a dictator because Lois Lane is murdered. What a reductive idea of what that character is. I mean, there's a reason that Homelander is an XP of Superman and Captain America. It is because people already think that those characters, along with fellow Blue Boy Scout Scott Summers, aka Cyclops, are mindless slaves to the status quo, even though there are plenty of comics that tell us otherwise. This happens because when these characters get adapted, they are not allowed to be complicated. I ultimately think that Superman as a threat was best handled in Superman the Animated Series, part of the DCAU. He is taken over by Darkseid and is forced to be part of conquering the Earth, only to be ultimately slaved by Lois Lane, shout out to her. His corruption, while not his fault, makes everyone's butthole clench, and this carries on to Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. And it ultimately leads to the creation of Cadmus, the cloning of Supergirl, and a lot of other government versus the Justice League issues. It's always framed with a level of understanding that the average person should be threatened by all the power that the Justice League has. They are a totally independent body with no oversight, and Green Arrow is always playing the everyman, being like, well, you know, who's gonna gatekeep the gatekeepers?
We must also consider the possibility that Cadmus is right to be afraid of us.
What?
And there is strong evidence of Cadmus having legitimate connections to the government.
Maybe to some rogue black ops group. The real government wouldn't get involved in anything like this.
Hey, I'm the only guy in the room who doesn't have superpowers, and let me tell you, you guys scare me. What if you do decide to go marching down there, taking care of whoever you think is guilty? Who could stop you? Me?
So you want the government to have a bunch of superhuman weapons just to keep us in check?
No. I don't know. Yeah. Look, I'm an old lefty. The government must do for people what people can't do for themselves. The people sure can't protect themselves from the likes of us.
We're not talking about the government. We're talking about a shadow cabinet that's taken it upon themselves to eliminate us. They came after us, we have to hit them back hard.
Grammy Flash always used to say the trouble with an eye for an eye is that everybody ends up blind.
And as a kid, I ate that shit up because it makes sense. Fuck authority figures. We don't trust them. Don't trust the police. Yet, when I rewatch it as an adult, I also see something very specific. They don't actually do anything. The superheroes, that is. Superman ultimately is not a fascist. He's not even really a cop. Superman does not shoot unarmed black kids. Superman isn't drone striking people in other countries. Superman isn't taking people to be put into cages or trying to take immigrants away from their families. Superman is a refugee from middle America who works for a newspaper and whose biggest enemies are literally genocidal tyrants and an egomaniac capitalist. This 7 is a stand-in for the Justice League because the Avengers, for better or worse, do not have the same idealism built into who they are as a group. It is more fun to mock Aquaman than Namor because, well, the normies don't know who Namor is anyway, but also they don't know that Namor is actually a badass bitch and he could really just slap, you know? If superheroes are supposed to be ideals, then knocking them down to earth, you make them ripe for corruption and turning them into people and what we imagine people to be like, which is terrible apparently. And again, I get it. Gritty realism in superhero content just usually means having your heroes abuse their power, act morally dubious. And the thing is that realism was never intended to just mean humanity is a piece of shit. It was literally about highlighting the human experiences without supernatural or speculative elements. The exact opposite of the superhero genre. It's about the banal, not the inherently dreadful. Too often we make skepticism and realism synonyms. This is not me coming down on the boys despite the rushed second season. I do actually really enjoy this series a lot. There's always one moment every episode that truly repulses me and makes me cringe with disgust, and that is an accomplishment for a show. As a New Yorker and as a black person, yeah, I get it. I get being distrustful of anyone saying they have the answers. But as someone who works and exists, I am even more skeptical of those who think that they can see into the hearts of fictional characters and warp them to meet their own cynical expectations of how they should be, than actually taking from what is on the page. It doesn't make you interesting that you think Superman could be a fascist, because his entire character is about literally the opposite of that.
We're done here.
My Hero Academia takes place in a near future where 80% of the human population have abilities known as quirks. As a result of this new superpowered society, Hero has become a job. They both help out with regular crime and supervillains. The #1 hero is named All Might. He's great. I love him. And he has a fanboy, my sweet baby boy son, Izuku Midoriya Shonen. Midoriya is one of the rare humans to be born without a quirk, and as a result, he has been picked on by his childhood friend, and according to my lady person, the best boy, Katsuki Bakugo. Through a series of fortunate accidents, Midoriya manages to get the attention of All Might, who is in a weakened state due to having a very big battle way long ago. And he decides to make Midoriya his protege and give him his quirk, one for all. Stanley once said,
"Another definition of a hero is someone who is concerned about other people's well-being and will go out of his way, or her way, to help them, even if there is no chance of a reward. That person who helps others simply because it should or must be done, and because it is the right thing to do, is indeed, without a doubt, a real superhero."
That's my baby Midoriya! That's All Might. That's Bakugo. But also the core premise of the series that everyone, even the villain Stain, thinks heroes should be. Koei Koshiro, the creator of My Hero Academia, has been very candid about the many inspirations that he got for his characters, like from saying that All Might was inspired by Goku from Dragon Ball, and saying that he was a big fan of Spider-Man. And you can see actually a lot of that Peter Parker wide-eye idealism, norminess stuff in Midoriya, aka Deku, aka my baby boy. All Might is so Superman in his design. I mean, if you put him next to Homelander and Superman, you can see they're all going for the same aesthetic, the same Supermanness. But unlike with Homelander, All Might is the real deal. In the battle between All Might and All for One, he wins with the United States' smash. It was so beautiful, I almost sobbed. It has nothing to do with patriotism. All Might isn't even from the United States, he is from Japan, it's confirmed, so don't at me. But it's the ideal. It's the fact that even in a broken down, severely injured state, knowing that he could die, he's going to keep fighting to be that symbol of peace. That inspires his greatest rival, Endeavor, to do the same thing. Endeavor's fight at the end of season 4 was phenomenal because it broke down what makes All Might in this universe important and what makes Superman so important by extension. That symbol of hope, of peace, is meant to inspire others. That's why that scene in Spider-Man 2 where everyone helps Spider-Man is so effective. He inspires people to be brave.
He's just a kid. No older than my son.
It's all right.
We found something. We won't tell nobody.
It's not just about creating fawning fans. It's that if he were down, if he needed help, people would fight to protect him. He inspires other people to be heroes. That's what the best heroes do. The fact that All Might inspires both Deku and Bakugo is important because it shows that besides his attitude, then the fact that Bakugo may be a bully, he's not bad, he's not evil. Bakugo just doesn't always get it right because he is. I am legally unable to say anything negative about Bakugo because
Bakugo is a perfect angel, and Princess knows if she says anything bad about Bakugo, she's
Cancelled.
But he is still a hero in his own way. Characters being too good has been a criticism for a long time. One I myself even fall into at times. But the older I get, the warier I get. The more I realize that that mentality is taught. We are taught to be mistrustful of kindness and affection and the people who show us their true selves to be good, because so often goodness is wrapped up in manipulation. It's a wolf in sheep's clothing. It's
Nice is different than good.
and it doesn't help when that kind of twist is played up. As I ate up both The Boys and My Hero Academia literally back to back, I was building these comparisons in my head because my relationship with the superhero genre keeps getting more and more complicated. We are looking to superhero media to do so much and to be so much that it becomes this, that it's been put into this important place of representation, and honestly, that makes it have so many more stakes. That's why we're discussing so much about who's funding these movies, the politics of the people who are bringing these heroes, iconic heroes to life, and how they try to teach us about empowerment. When I look at the most popular characters that people love in the superhero genre, or the love for the dark, the gritty, the deconstruction, I'm not against it. I enjoy deconstruction, and I definitely think that there is great storytelling in the dark, in the gritty, in the Alan Moore. But as I've said before, and I say it 1,000 times, comics, superheroes are not just about making everyone into a shitburger. Sometimes it's about the goodness, and sometimes goodness matters. But yet, at the same time, so often I see that the sweetness, the goodness, the kindness often doesn't hit the same for some people. And at first I thought, when I was working on this, that the conclusion would be that maybe we just believe that fascism ultimately is the true face of our heroes. And then this song came on my phone.
When do I know I'm Spider-Man? You won't. That's all it is, Miles. A leap of faith.
Cynicism isn't the default. Hope and optimism do and can win. People do want heroes who are good. We want them to be human. We want them to be human, but that doesn't mean they have to be a dick. It can be a kid who gets bitten by a radioactive spider. Suddenly, he has powers and a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. And now they have to figure out all of that. And it's hard, and they make mistakes, but they choose in the end to be a hero because someone has to be, and they can. It's scary, but it's a leap of faith. And that leap of faith is the kind of faith that we don't have in goodness anymore. And I get why. It is hard to believe in goodness. And I think that most of the things in my life would have taught me not to even trust it. But I think that when it comes to writing for superheroes, I disagree with this idea that superheroes and humans are inherently MAGA, inherently racist, inherently fascist. I mean, there are just some that be like that, and it's becoming clear that it's a bigger majority than anyone is more comfortable to say. But I'm not going to erase the fact that so much of the world is also made up of people who do the work. And I know in my heart that Superman isn't Homelander. He's never going to be Homelander. I know that because that's not what he was written to be. That is not in the hearts of the people who made him. And while it may be easy for people to assume that he could be a fascist dictator, that to me is a cynicism that I don't partake in. Not because I don't think it can't be narratively rich, but because, like Captain America, like Cyclops, I don't think that those characters were ever there to be leaders who were infallible or robotic. They were meant to be leaders who were doing their best to help people be better. And sometimes that meant putting themselves second or third. So yeah, they don't always have the personalities that beam through, but they help nourish other people. And I think that's what Superman does at the best.
They can be a great people, Kal-El, they wish to be. They only lack the light to show the way. For this reason, above all, their capacity for good, I have sent them you, my only son.
I like both The Boys and My Hero Academia. They are very different shows. And ultimately, I do believe that the corporatization of superheroes is dangerous because it transforms you from who you want to be. But I think the beauty of My Hero Academia is that they make being a hero a learning process. It's a school. You can fail at it. You have to be regulated in some way, and there are rules, and yes, there are monetary gains to being a hero. But by focusing on young people who feel genuinely inspired to do good, you are seeing young people at their core who want to help. And to have someone, a character like Endeavor, who was mean to my good son, Showtime. I think it's important to see that becoming a hero is a process. It's a growth. And yes, sometimes you need to be protected from things in order to be a true hero, but it's how you stand up in the end of it, when you actually allow yourself to be the kind of person that you want in a hero. And I think that, much like with Miles and Into the Spider-Verse, that is the ultimate leap of faith that we have to take. I don't think that The Boys is unproductive. That's not the point of this video. But it is to say that the people behind it are cynical about comic book movies and comic book characters. Valid. But I think My Hero Academia is a show that's built around the positivity and goodness that superheroes can be. Not perfect, but always evolving, always learning, and always on a journey to do better. I think that's pretty neat.